We're back with the Best of Believe Network Hour on Stadium. Do you believe?
We're back, baby. It's the charity stripe. Hit your free throws because they are free. Fisher, Snacks, Kreider, Best to Believe on Stadium. Coaching moves, potential moves being made. We have a couple moves that we want to talk about. Shane Steichen, new head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. Who better to talk about it than Roddy McLeod, joined by Gerard Powers and Lawrence Owen. Believe in Colts. Check this clip out.
Gerard, thoughts on Shane as, the guy here in Indy for, who knows how long?
Well, I don't know Shane personally, but it seemed like the Eagles front office, organization, and coaches everybody seemed to be trying to get their guys, all across the league. So, but just looking at the Eagles offense the past couple of years, I mean, obviously they got a great scheme, great players and all those type of things. And they do a good job of developing quarterbacks over there, no matter who's at the helm. Carson Wentz has success there, Nick Foles, obviously, and now you see Jalen Hurts having success there. So I'll be eager to see the direction Shane will want to go in the quarterback room, with the Colts and how we'll look, from that standpoint. But it seems like anybody that you can grab from the Eagles organization, that they're a hot ticket right now. They've been the standard for the past few years.
It's weird, Rodney. This is kind of odd because you played on a team with Shane Steichen in 2021. You played this past year with Frank Reich, and both of them were the offensive coordinators for the Eagles when they went to the Super Bowl. That's kind of, I don't know. I thought that was a bit of a weird thing, right? And then end up becoming the Colts head coach right after that. So your thoughts on Shane Steichen being the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts?
I think Shane Steichen is a great candidate, and a great decision to, bring him in as the, new head coach for the Colts. And he's well respected in that building over in Philly and across the league. And, Gerard knows you have a chance to go to the Super Bowl, and obviously they didn't win, but, you now become a hot commodity, as Mike Jones say, man, back then didn't want me. Now I'm hot. They all on me. And so that's what you're seeing is from that staff over there. A few guys are getting their opportunity to be able to lead a team.
I think it's a great move.
Yeah.
Proved himself with the Eagles offensively. Mm-hmm. Coached under Sirianni, who was with the Colts under Frank Reich, ironically.
Yeah. And coached with Frank Reich too.
Yeah.
In San Diego.
Yep. Yeah, he did. And now,
so the culture's somewhat similar.
And he gets to go in, and he's in a position where he can go get a quarterback that's his guy.
Right.
Whether they move up to the first overall pick and take their pick of the litter, Levis, Young, Stroud, Richardson, if you're really gambling, or you wait back at 4, hope that someone takes an end, just see where you fall. So
right.
Takes a Carter or an Anderson, and you get maybe a pick of one of the 3 or 2 of the 3 even. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a really good move for him. I think it's a great move for the Colts. Got a young offensive mind in the building. Because this is a team, I'm not saying it's going to be competitive next year, but they definitely have pieces on the roster that make them competitive.
Sure. Defense, running back, wide receivers.
Line, yeah. The whole kaput. So I think this is a good move for the Colts, and I think they've got the right guy in the building to progress this team in what could be a winnable division or a catchable division with the Jacksonville Jaguars going full steam ahead. All right, let's go to the Commanders, though. Believe in Commanders. Mr. Armstrong, Mr. Murphy. Check this clip out.
But the guy who I got my eyes on now is Eric Bienemy. I think it was extremely classy of Andy Reid, and I don't think it was on accident. He did it on purpose. Directly after the game, when the microphone was in his face, he talked about how Eric Bienemy had a huge part in some of the late game adjustments and changes that happened to help them get that win. And I think that was perfectly placed and put out there so that everybody could hear it and know that this guy can and will be a successful offensive coordinator or a head coach eventually, but he could do the things that people are saying he can't do. And conversely, you see Mike Kafka 1 year as an offensive coordinator, and he immediately gets, briefly considered as a head coaching candidate in Arizona. Obviously, they went with Gannon out of Philadelphia, but Eric Bieniemy's been in that position for the longest, and he just continued gets passed over because he's under such a great, play caller in Andy Reid.
that, and maybe he looks a little different, which is not right. And we've talked about it plenty of times. But I hope that Eric Bienemy comes to Washington D.C. and lights it up, because I think that he is special. And you heard that those jet action, those motion plays were a direct result, or at least I read somewhere that it was a direct result of something that Eric Bienemy saw. And we've talked about it already. Whether or not he calls the plays, he's sitting in the room with the guy that we are calling the genius in Andy Reid, who absolutely is. He's absolutely a incredible mind when it comes to calling offense. But the fact that he's right there next to him, sign me up for that all day.
Bienemy maybe getting out from under the shadow of Reid and Mahomes, going to the Commanders. What do you think about this move?
Well, if you're Eric Bienemy,
if it happens.
If you're Eric Bienemy, well, first of all, if you're the Commanders, great move, obviously, right? Yeah. The Super Bowl, 2-time Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator. If you're Eric Bienemy, though, and your entire career or your entire resume has just been under Andy Reid and riding the coattails of Patrick Mahomes, then maybe you want to get out and prove something somewhere else, right? Maybe more of like a project and a resume builder. Let's say he does really well and takes his offense to another level. Then he's getting looks, considerably for head coaching positions next year. Or what if the Commanders don't do so well this season, Ron Rivera gets fired, and Bienemy is the guy that steps up in the organization? Maybe that's the kicker in the deal or something.
He could walk into a situation where he can either improve his resume potentially or get grandfathered in.
Correct.
It's not an excuse anymore that his team goes too deep into the playoffs that he can't get hired, because Steichen and Gannon, both the coordinators of the Eagles, are hired in 2 head coaching positions.
It's not a matter of that.
It's clearly a situation of people think it's a product of Mahomes and Andy Reid, which I'm not saying it's not, but I think Bienemy needs a little sunlight to grow. There's
a couple of things that I think maybe are working against him, and that's one of them. We don't know how the interviews are going. Maybe he's not great in the interview room. I don't know. The other thing is just longevity. Like he played in the league, but he hasn't necessarily done it forever. There's guys that have been coordinators for a long, long time, and this is his first opportunity to become a coordinator. So, you never know.
A lot in play here, but hopefully he goes to the Commanders. We love a good shakeup, and he gets his opportunity there. Speaking of opportunity, you're going to get the opportunity to listen to us talk about basketball and baseball, but that's coming up, so do not go anywhere. Snacks, Kreider, Fisher, the Charity Stripe, Best to Believe on Stadium. We'll see you guys in just a hot second.
Hang tight. We'll be right back in just a second with some more great Believe content on Stadium.